Hollywood just detonated. Teyana Taylor's Golden Globe win triggered a racial firestorm nobody saw coming. Meanwhile, Cardi B, Offset, and an NFL star are tangled in a $20 million scandal involving threats, secret babies, and allegations so dark they could end careers tonight. Everybody thought they knew what happened at the Golden Globes. Black actress wins award, Hollywood celebrates diversity, beautiful moment, right? Wrong. Critics started tearing it apart within hours, claiming the whole thing was engineered trauma bait designed to silence bigger conversations. And while that controversy exploded, another bomb went off. Cardi B's personal life became a public war zone. Offset allegedly broke, threatening violence, drowning in debt, Selena Powell dropping receipts, Stefon Diggs vanishing from hospitals. This isn't award season anymore. This is career assassination season, and nobody's safe. Let me break down exactly how this Golden Globe situation turned into a full-scale controversy that has Black Twitter, film critics, and Hollywood insiders at each other's throats right now. Teyana Taylor won Best Supporting Actress for her role in 1001, which got retitled by some outlets as One Battle After Another. Beautiful moment on stage, emotional speech, standing ovation. But within 12 hours, the internet detectives came out swinging with receipts, and they were not happy. Here's what they found. Teyana appears in the film for approximately 20 minutes of screen time. 20 minutes, that's it. She's positioned between two white male characters throughout most of her scenes. The narrative revolves around them while she exists in their orbit, serving their emotional arcs more than her own. And here's the kicker. She disappears halfway through the movie. Her character just exits the story and the film continues without her. Yet somehow she walked away with a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress. Fans immediately started asking the hard questions. How does a 20-minute performance with limited narrative agency win over powerhouse roles in films led by Black voices? How does this beat out performances in movies like The Sinners, which generated over $300 million at the box office and centered entirely on Black storytelling, Black trauma, Black triumph, all filtered through a Black lens? People online started pulling up comparisons, creating spreadsheets, doing frame-by-frame breakdowns of screen time versus award weight. And it gets even crazier. Critics began dissecting the actual content of Teyana's role. They pointed out that her character exists in a space of suffering. She's dealing with racialized pain, positioned as an object within a white male gaze. Her storyline drenched in trauma that makes white audiences uncomfortable in a way that feels performative rather than transformative. Fans started using phrases like fetishized suffering and trauma bait. They accused Hollywood of once again rewarding Black pain that fits into a digestible narrative for white viewers instead of celebrating Black excellence that exists on its own terms. Online detectives went full CSI mode. They pulled up interview clips where Teyana discussed the role. They analyzed behind-the-scenes footage. They compared the marketing campaign for 1001 against films like The Sinners. And they found something interesting. The Sinners barely got any awards buzz despite being a cultural phenomenon. Meanwhile, Teyana's film, which had a smaller release and far less cultural impact, suddenly became the Academy's favorite. People started connecting dots. Was this a genuine recognition of talent, or was this Hollywood's way of checking a diversity box without actually platforming the kind of Black storytelling that challenges power structures? Then, someone dropped a comparison that made the whole internet pause. Halle Berry, Monsters Ball, 2001. Halle became the first Black woman to win Best Actress at the Oscars, and people celebrated it as a breakthrough moment. But in the years since, that win has been recontextualized. Critics have pointed out that Halle's role involved racialized sexual trauma, positioned her in scenes that catered to the white male gaze, and ultimately rewarded her for playing into a narrative of Black suffering rather than Black power. The performance was stunning, no doubt, but the role itself and what Hollywood chose to reward tells a different story. And now people are saying Teyana's Golden Globe win follows the exact same pattern. Hollywood allegedly doesn't reward Black excellence when it's too powerful, too unapologetic, too centered in Blackness. Instead, it rewards black performances that make white audiences feel like they've engaged with racial issues without actually being challenged. It's diversity theater. It's trauma porn disguised as progress. And fans are tired of watching the same script play out every award season. The backlash reached a boiling point when #Golden Globe scandals started trending worldwide. People weren't attacking Teyana personally. They were furious at the system that used her as a pawn. They were angry that once again Hollywood found a way to celebrate blackness only when it fits into a framework that doesn't threaten the status quo. And they were disgusted that films like The Sinners, which should have swept award season, got completely ignored while a 20-minute performance in a white-centered narrative took home the trophy. Let's keep it real. This isn't just about one award. This is about a pattern, a system, a machine that has been running the same playbook for decades, and people are finally calling it out loud enough that it can't be ignored anymore. Now let's dig into the motive behind all of this. Because once you understand the history, the Golden Globes controversy starts looking less like an accident and more like a calculated move. Hollywood has a long, documented history of using black trauma as a commodity. It's not new, it's not subtle, and it's definitely not accidental. The Academy loves to reward black performers when they're playing roles that reinforce certain narratives, roles that center suffering, roles that exist to educate white audiences about racism in a way that doesn't make them too uncomfortable, roles that position black people as victims who need saving rather than powerful individuals who shape their own destinies. Think back to some of the most celebrated black performances in Oscar and Golden Globe history. Halle Berry in Monsters Ball, as we mentioned, Lupita Nyong'o in 12 Years a Slave, Viola Davis in The Help. All breathtaking performances by incredibly talented actresses. But notice the pattern in the roles. Trauma, pain, suffering filtered through a white perspective. These stories are told in ways that allow white audiences to feel like they've confronted racism without actually having to dismantle any systems or examine their own complicity. It's empathy at a safe distance, and Hollywood rewards it every single time. Meanwhile, films that center black joy, black power, black complexity outside of white narratives often get ignored. When was the last time a film like The Sinners, which is unapologetically black horror that doesn't explain itself to white audiences, swept award season? It doesn't happen, because that kind of storytelling doesn't serve the purpose Hollywood wants black stories to serve. It doesn't make white viewers feel good about themselves. It doesn't offer them a comfortable entry point into racial conversations. It just exists, bold and black and unbothered. And that terrifies the gatekeepers. So when Teyana Taylor wins a Golden Globe for a 20-minute role in a film centered on white male characters, people see it for what it allegedly is: damage control. Hollywood has been under fire for years now. The Oscar so white movement, the lack of diversity behind the camera, the erasure of black-led films from major categories. The industry knows it has a problem, and it knows the world is watching. So what does it do? It hands out awards to black performers in roles that fit the acceptable narrative. It creates the illusion of progress without actually changing the power structures that determine which stories get told and which stories get erased. And here's where the conspiracy gets darker. Some critics believe the Golden Globe specifically chose to honor Teyana in this role to overshadow the success of films like The Sinners. Think about it. The Sinners made over $300 million. It became a cultural moment. It proved that black-led horror told entirely from a black perspective can dominate the box office and capture mainstream audiences without compromising its vision. That's dangerous to Hollywood's old guard. That kind of success threatens the narrative that black stories need white characters or white perspectives to be commercially viable. So what happens? The Sinners get snubbed across the board. No major nominations, no awards buzz, no recognition from the institutions that claim to celebrate cinematic excellence. Meanwhile, Teyana's performance, which exists within a white-centered framework, gets elevated. The message is clear. We'll celebrate you, but only if you stay in your lane. Only if your blackness serves our narrative. Only if you don't challenge us too much. Fans started pulling receipts on Hollywood's history with this exact playbook. They pointed to how Green Book won Best Picture over Black Panther, how Crash won over Brokeback Mountain, but also overshadowed more authentic explorations of race. How Driving Miss Daisy beat Do the Right Thing. Every single time, the Academy chooses the version of blackness that makes white audiences comfortable over the version that demands they sit in their discomfort and actually change. And let's talk about the financial angle, because this isn't just about art, this is about money and power. Films like The Sinners prove that black audiences will show up in massive numbers for stories that center them authentically. That's a shift in economic power. That means studios have to start greenlighting more black-led projects, hiring more black directors, giving more creative control to black voices. That terrifies executives who have built their entire careers on controlling the narrative and determining what's marketable. So when the Golden Globes hand Teyana an award for a role that doesn't threaten that power structure, it's strategic. It lets Hollywood say, "Look, we're celebrating black talent," while simultaneously undermining the films that actually represent the future of black storytelling. It's a chess move, and people are finally seeing the board. The backlash isn't about Teyana. She's an incredible talent who deserves recognition. The backlash is about a system that only recognizes black excellence when it's packaged in a way that serves white comfort. And after decades of this same pattern, people have had enough. They're done watching Hollywood pretend to care about diversity while actively suppressing the stories that would actually shift the culture.
But here's the part that really hits different. And this is where the conversation shifts from industry politics to real human impact. Teyana Taylor didn't ask to be the center of a racial controversy. She didn't campaign for this award thinking it would turn into a firestorm. She's an artist who took a role, did her job beautifully, and got recognized. And now she's caught in the middle of a fight that's way bigger than her. Think about what that feels like. You achieve something that should be a career highlight. You walk on stage, you give a heartfelt speech, you feel seen and celebrated. And then within hours, the internet explodes with think pieces dissecting whether you deserved it, whether you were used as a pawn, whether your moment of joy was actually a strategic move by an industry that doesn't really respect you. That's brutal. That's the kind of psychological whiplash that can make someone question everything about their career and their place in the industry. Fans who love Teyana have been flooding her comments with support, making it clear that their anger isn't directed at her. They're angry at Hollywood. They're angry at the system. They're angry that once again, a black woman is being put in an impossible position where her success gets weaponized in conversations she never asked to be part of. It's not fair to her. And it's a painful reminder that black excellence in Hollywood is never allowed to just be excellent. It always has to come with asterisks, controversies, and questions about whether it was really earned or just part of some larger political game. And this extends beyond just Teyana. Think about every black actor who has won an award and then had to spend years defending it. Think about the emotional labor of constantly having to prove your worth in spaces that were never designed to celebrate you authentically. Think about the exhaustion of achieving something monumental, only to have people debate whether the achievement was real or just Hollywood checking a box. That trauma is real. That weight is heavy, and it's a burden that white actors almost never have to carry. Meanwhile, the creators and cast of The Sinners are watching a film they poured their souls into get completely ignored by the institutions that claim to represent the best of cinema. They made something powerful, something that resonated with millions of people, something that shifted culture and dominated the box office, and they got shut out. How does that feel? How do you process the fact that your unapologetically black story was too black for the gatekeepers? How do you move forward knowing that no matter how successful you are, no matter how much audiences love you, the industry will always find a way to diminish your work if it doesn't serve their narrative? That emotional cost of Hollywood's racism. It's not just about who wins awards, it's about the psychological toll on black artists who have to navigate a system that constantly tells them they're only valuable when they perform blackness in ways that make white people comfortable. It's exhausting, it's dehumanizing, and it's exactly why so many people are demanding change right now. Now, just when you thought this story couldn't get any wilder, we need to shift gears completely, because while Hollywood is imploding over the Golden Globes, an entirely separate nuclear explosion is happening in the hip-hop world. And this one involves Cardi B, Offset, Selena Powell, and NFL star Stefon Diggs in a scandal so messy it sounds like a crime thriller someone made up. But it's real, and it's unfolding in real time with receipts, threats, and financial collapse. Selena Powell, who has a history of exposing industry secrets, went absolutely nuclear on Offset in a series of posts and leaked conversations that have the internet losing their minds. She didn't just drop hints, she came with full documentation, screenshots, voice notes, and specific dollar amounts that paint a picture of a man allegedly spiraling out of control financially and emotionally. Here's what Selena claimed, and these are her words, not confirmed facts. She says Offset owes her between $15,000 and $20,000. That's not a small amount, but it's also not the kind of debt that destroys someone at Offset's level, right? Except she didn't stop there. She claimed that Offset is functionally broke, not just low on cash, broke. She alleged that he lost $10 million through bad investments, gambling, and reckless spending. $10 million. Let that number sit for a second. But it gets worse. According to Selena, Offset also owes the IRS approximately $2 million in back taxes. If that's true, that's the kind of debt that doesn't just go away. That's the kind of debt that leads to asset seizures, legal battles, and serious criminal consequences if not handled properly. And she didn't stop there. She claimed he's gambling compulsively, burning through whatever money he has left, and allegedly heading straight toward bankruptcy. Now, Selena has receipts, or at least she says she does. She posted screenshots of text conversations that allegedly show Offset acknowledging the debt. She posted screenshots of payment apps showing requested amounts. She posted voice notes where someone who sounds like Offset is allegedly discussing financial problems. Online detectives immediately got to work analyzing everything. They compared the voice in the recordings to verified Offset interviews. They studied speech patterns, slang, tone, and a lot of people online are convinced it's him. But the financial allegations are just the beginning. Selena also dropped bombs about Offset's personal life that, if true, are absolutely devastating. She claimed that Offset was furious about Cardi B's pregnancy and the birth of her new baby. Not just upset, furious. She alleged that he referred to the baby as a bastard and exploded when he found out the details. According to her, Offset believes the baby isn't his, and he's convinced that Stefon Diggs, the NFL star Cardi has been linked to, is the real father. Here's where it gets even darker. Selena claimed that Stefon made violent threats. She said he threatened her directly, and she feared for her safety enough that she started documenting everything and keeping people informed in case something happened to her. Those are serious allegations. Threats of violence aren't just drama, they're criminal. And if Selena has proof of those threats, this situation could escalate into legal territory very quickly. And then there's the Stefon Diggs angle. Selena claimed that Stefon was initially involved with Cardi during the pregnancy, but when the baby was born, things got messy fast. According to her, Stefon disappeared. He allegedly left Cardi at the hospital, refused to be listed on the birth certificate, and went ghost for days. If that's true, that's cold. That's the kind of move that would devastate someone emotionally, especially right after giving birth. But wait, there's more. Selena also made allegations about Offset's personal life that have nothing to do with Cardi. She hinted at DL behavior, suggesting that Offset has been involved in situations that would shock his fan base if they came to light. She didn't provide specifics, but the implication was clear, and the internet immediately started speculating about what she meant. Meanwhile, fans noticed something interesting. Cardi B hasn't publicly gone after Selena the way she usually does when someone comes for her family. Normally, Cardi is the first one on Instagram Live or Twitter, defending herself and clapping back at anyone who tries her. But this time, silence, or at least relative silence. She's posted cryptic messages, but she hasn't directly addressed Selena's claims. Why? Some people think it's because Cardi knows Selena has receipts that could hurt Offset legally. If Selena has proof of threats, proof of debts, proof of behavior that could damage Offset's custody arrangements or legal standing,
Cardi might be protecting him by staying quiet. Others think Cardi is playing the long game. Maybe she's letting Offset dig his own grave while she positions herself as the stable, responsible parent in any future custody battle. And here's the wildest theory circulating online. Some people think Cardi might actually be working with Selena behind the scenes. Think about it. If Cardi wants to divorce Offset and secure full custody of their kids, documented evidence of his financial instability, violent threats, and reckless behavior would be incredibly valuable in court. What if Selena is serving as the public mouthpiece for information Cardi wants out there but can't say herself without looking vindictive? It sounds like a conspiracy, but in the world of celebrity chess moves, it's not impossible.
Let's take a step back and look at the broader context here, because both of these stories, the Golden Globes controversy and the Cardi, Offset, Selena drama, are connected by a theme that runs through all of celebrity culture right now: power, control, and the illusion of success. In Hollywood, the Golden Globe situation exposes how power operates behind the scenes. The people who decide which stories get told, which performances get celebrated, and which artists get elevated are overwhelmingly white, overwhelmingly male, and overwhelmingly invested in maintaining the status quo. When they give an award to Teyana Taylor for a role that fits into their comfort zone while ignoring a film like The Sinners that challenges their worldview, they're exercising power. They're sending a message about what kind of blackness is acceptable and what kind is too threatening. And in the hip-hop world, the Offset situation exposes how fragile success can be when it's built on image rather than substance. Offset has spent years projecting wealth, power, and control, expensive cars, designer clothes, lavish lifestyle. But if Selena's allegations are true, that image was a facade. Behind the scenes, he's allegedly drowning in debt, losing millions, threatening people out of desperation. That's what happens when your entire identity is tied to perception rather than reality. Both situations also highlight how women get used and discarded in these industries. Teyana becomes a pawn in Hollywood's diversity theater. Cardi becomes a punching bag in Offset's alleged emotional breakdown. Selena becomes a target for telling the truth. And female creators behind films like The Sinners get erased from conversations entirely. The pattern is exhausting. Let's also talk about the role of social media in all of this, because these stories wouldn't have the same impact without platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Online communities have become investigative forces that traditional media can't ignore anymore. When fans started dissecting Teyana's screen time and comparing it to other performances, they created a narrative that forced mainstream outlets to cover the controversy. When Selena started posting receipts about Offset, she bypassed traditional gossip channels and went straight to the public, making it impossible for publicists to control the story. That's a shift in power. Celebrities and institutions used to control their narratives through carefully managed press releases and exclusive interviews with friendly outlets. But now, anyone with a phone can drop receipts, and within hours, millions of people are analyzing, debating, and spreading the information. That's both powerful and dangerous. Powerful because it holds people accountable, dangerous because it can also spread misinformation, ruin reputations unfairly, and create a mob mentality without due process. And here's something else worth considering. Both of these stories involved allegations that haven't been fully proven in court or through official investigations. Selena's claims about Offset are serious, but they're still allegations until there's legal confirmation. The theories about Hollywood's Golden Globe motives are compelling, but they're based on patterns and speculation rather than smoking gun evidence. That's the tricky part about modern celebrity discourse. We're operating in a space where perception often becomes reality before facts are fully established. But that doesn't mean these conversations aren't valuable. Even if every specific detail isn't confirmed, the patterns are real. Hollywood does have a documented history of tokenizing Black trauma. Celebrities do have a documented history of financial mismanagement and abusive behavior. And institutions do have a documented history of protecting powerful people at the expense of victims.
So when stories like these emerge, they tap into larger truths that people recognize from lived experience and historical evidence.
What we're seeing here is a cultural reckoning happening on multiple fronts simultaneously, and the implications go way beyond individual celebrities or single award shows. This is about systems that have operated with impunity for decades, finally being forced into the light. In Hollywood, the Golden Globes controversy is part of a larger conversation about who gets to tell stories and whose stories get told. For too long, the industry has functioned as a gatekeeper that determines which narratives are worthy of mainstream recognition, and those decisions have consistently favored stories that center whiteness, even when they claim to be about diversity. The backlash against Teyana's win isn't about diminishing her talent, it's about demanding that Hollywood stop using black artists as props in a performance of progressiveness while actively suppressing the work that truly represents black voices. This conversation is also forcing audiences to reckon with their own complicity. How many times have we celebrated awards and performances without questioning the systems that elevated them? How many times have we accepted Hollywood's version of diversity without demanding actual structural change? These questions are uncomfortable, but they're necessary. In the hip-hop and celebrity world, the Offset situation exposes the dark side of fame and wealth. We glorify celebrity lifestyles without acknowledging the pressure, the financial instability, and the destructive behavior that often comes with it. If Offset is truly in the financial and emotional crisis that Selena describes, that's a cautionary tale about what happens when image becomes more important than reality. It's also a reminder that wealth doesn't equal stability and fame doesn't equal happiness. There's also a broader conversation about accountability. For years, celebrities have been able to behave recklessly, mistreat people, and avoid consequences because publicists and legal teams could manage the narrative. But in the age of social media, that's becoming harder. When someone like Selena can go public with receipts and reach millions of people instantly, the old playbook doesn't work anymore. That's terrifying for people who have built careers on controlling information. But it's empowering for people who have been silenced. And finally, both of these stories highlight the importance of critical thinking and media literacy. We're living in an era where information moves faster than verification. Allegations become facts in the public consciousness before investigations are complete. That's dangerous, but it's reality. So the responsibility falls on all of us to consume information critically, to question sources, to demand evidence, and to avoid jumping to conclusions that could harm innocent people. The systems are cracking, the facades are crumbling, and the conversations that emerge from these cracks have the potential to reshape how we think about art, fame, power, and accountability. But only if we're willing to do the uncomfortable work of examining our own roles in perpetuating the problems.
So where does all of this go from here? Because right now, both of these situations are at a boiling point, and what happens next could have massive consequences for everyone involved. Let's start with the Golden Globe controversy. Hollywood is watching this backlash closely, and they have a choice to make. They can double down, defend their decision, and hope the outrage dies down, or they can acknowledge the criticism, have honest conversations about their voting processes and biases, and commit to actual structural change. Based on history, the first option is more likely, but the pressure is mounting. The Oscars So White movement proved that sustained public outcry can force institutions to make changes, even if those changes are slow and incomplete. For Teyana, the path forward is complicated. She can embrace the award and ignore the controversy, which might make her look tone-deaf, or she can address it directly, acknowledge the larger systemic issues, and use her platform to advocate for change. That's a lot of emotional labor to put on her shoulders, but it might be the only way to reclaim her narrative. As for the Sinners and other black-led films that got snubbed, this controversy might actually help them in the long run. The public discourse has elevated their work, reminded people of their excellence, and positioned them as the true standard-bearers of black cinema. That cultural capital matters, even if it doesn't come with a trophy. Now, the Offset situation. If Selena's allegations are true, Offset is in serious trouble.
Financial debt to the IRS, alleged violent threats, potential custody battles, and a crumbling public image. That's a perfect storm. His career could survive. Hip-hop has a history of forgiving male artists for egregious behavior, but his personal life might be irreparably damaged. Cardi is in the power position here. If she has documentation of Offset's instability, she can use it in divorce proceedings, custody negotiations, and public relations. She's already the more sympathetic figure. She's the one who built an empire while raising kids and dealing with a messy marriage. If she plays this right, she comes out on top. Stefon Diggs is the wild card. If he's truly the father of Cardi's baby and he abandoned her at the hospital, that's a PR nightmare for him. But if those allegations aren't true, he needs to address them quickly before they define his public image. And Selena? She's either a truth teller who's about to face retaliation, or she's playing a dangerous game that could backfire legally. Either way, she's positioned herself at the center of one of the messiest celebrity scandals in recent memory. Here's what could happen. Legal battles, more leaks, more receipts, public statements from people who have stayed silent so far, potential arrests if threats are proven, custody fights that play out in tabloids, and possibly career-ending revelations that shift public opinion permanently. The next few weeks are critical. Every move matters, every statement will be dissected, and every piece of new information will either confirm or shatter the narratives that have been built so far.
This story is far from over. Every single day, more details emerge, more people speak out, more receipts surface, and the implications get bigger and messier. We're watching two massive institutions, Hollywood and the hip-hop industry, get exposed in real time for the systems they've built and the people they've harmed along the way. So here's what I want to know from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now because I need to hear what you think about all of this. First question. Do you think the Golden Globes deliberately chose Teyana Taylor's role to avoid celebrating films like The Sinners? Was this diversity theater or is the backlash overblown? Let me know where you stand. Second question. Do you believe Selena Powell's allegations about Offset? Is he really broke and spiraling, or is this a coordinated attack to destroy his reputation? And do you think Cardi B is quietly helping Selena behind the scenes, or is that conspiracy theory too wild? Third question, what do you think happens next? Does Offset recover from this, or is his career and personal life finished? Does Hollywood actually change, or do they just wait for the outrage to fade? And does Teyana Taylor's Golden Globe win get remembered as a victory or a controversy? I want to hear all of your theories, your takes, your predictions. And if you've been following these stories closely, share any details I might have missed, because this is moving fast and new information drops constantly. Make sure you hit that like button if this video gave you the full breakdown you needed. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because I'm covering every twist, every leak, every development as this unfolds. This is the kind of story that changes daily, and you don't want to miss a single update. I appreciate every single one of you for being here, for engaging, for thinking critically about these issues. Stay safe out there, stay informed, and remember, the stories they don't want you to question are usually the ones you should be questioning the most. I'll catch you in the next one with more updates, more receipts, and more truth. Peace.